Check 1, check 2. Okay.
My goal in this is to make just like you're gonna get like a social blade graph of like the bar graph.
You want that to just be a big
yeah. Just like on whenever November 8th, whenever you post this, there's just gonna be like negative 35 subs, and you won't know why.
That's good. I would honestly, I've been saying this the whole time that all I want is our content to just get a reaction. Like likes, dislikes, like whatever. Okay. That's all I want. Okay. And so honestly, that I would be happy with that.
Okay.
I'd be happy with that.
Get with the racist stuff then. Probably.
Okay, that's not what
YouTube's algorithm loves that
they
stuff.
love it. Okay. All right. Well, this is familiar to us. I mean, it's been a while, but but we're this video now. That's the difference. That's the difference.
I forgot that I used to do that.
So, okay, for anybody watching this, Travis and I had a wildly this is Travis. Say hi, Travis. Travis and I had a wildly successful podcast. I mean,
dozens of listens.
At least a dozen. And it was called How Do You Nerd? Go check it out. It'll probably still be up.
Yeah, the existence of the podcast is contingent upon how much longer I want
to pay for it.
Spreaker to be taking $5.99 a month out of my PayPal account.
Do you see it every month and then go like, I'll get it next month?
No, I think I do it. I don't say I'll get it next month. I'm. It's like you're confronted with like this very painful decision. Every month I tell myself that I'm not killing the baby.
And then do you think actually, how long is it going to go?
When's the last time we uploaded an episode? We are beyond a calendar year without an episode, and I'm still paying that money.
I feel there's a part of me that feels bad. I want you to know I'm willing to.
Yo.
Holy moly.
Who FaceTimes in 2019, year of our Lord?
Okay, hold on. This is still recording, but I'm just gonna. All right, we're hopping back in with the video now. Okay.
Is this staying in the?
Oh yeah. No, yeah. I'll just like put a picture of like the Lark symbol with a funny mustache or something when that happens.
Oops. All right, so now this is where, after all that happened, some aspiring social media manner emailed you at
Lark Music Official. Wait.
At gmail.com.
At gmail.com.
Okay.
Yeah. Wait, I know our stuff. I swear.
They need you. You are so necessary.
Yeah, well, that's true.
Aspiring social media manager.
Right, yeah. Honestly, that would be amazing. Travis knows how incredible I am at social media management. Or at least, okay, when we did the How Do You Nerd, Travis handled all that.
And barely. I'm bad at it, too.
Well, but compared to what I was doing, it was to great effect. So, anyway, so we had How Do You Nerd? Oh, this is what I was going to say. I want you to know, I'll pay some of that money, only up until a point, though. Past that, it's like, this is...
I'll bill you when you guys get that first deal.
That's your fault. Yeah, honestly, I'm totally fine with that.
You're going to move to LA. You're not going to hear from me for years. And then the day after you get that first Grammy, I'm just invoicing
you. $1,000 please. Yeah, I'm okay with that.
All right, cool.
Anyway, okay, so Travis and I used to have a wildly successful podcast called How Do You Nerd? And the whole premise of that podcast was basically to talk to people who are passionate about things. That's all it was.
Yeah.
Right? That was all it was. Somewhere along the way, Travis and I formed an amazing, inseparable bond on camera. Or no, I guess on audio. And so that's part of the reason I wanted to get him on here. But the other part of the reason is because Travis not only saw Lark from the beginning, had kind of like an outsider's perspective, which is very cool to have. But also, Travis is a musician. He's a knowledgeable musician, and he's a person that's fun to talk music with for me.
It seems like an oversell.
Well, that's what I'm trying to do. I want to build you way up. No. So that's part of the reason I wanted to get him on here, because that's, as anybody who's, I guess, listened this long into the podcast knows that part of the purpose of the podcast is to just talk, like, to do that nerdy music talk, to do that nerdy, career musician talk, whatever that musicians know that we have, but other people don't. The prime example that we've given on earlier episodes is always like, after you play a show, after you play a gig, after you play a concert, you end up talking with somebody afterwards being like, yeah, you know, that passage on this really didn't go as well as it could have. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, those are the conversations that I know that I would love to watch my favorite musicians have.
Yeah.
And so we plan on being somebody's favorite musicians. and so that's part of the podcast is I just want to bring people on and you know, we can have those conversations or not, and we'll just talk about, we'll BS our way through whatever this turns out to be.
Small sidebar, okay. Which if you ever listen to we're going to reference our prolific podcast many a time. Our podcast was mostly sidebars.
Yeah, honestly, yeah.
I was installing something we're in the beautiful home I've made with my wife.
Built with his own hands.
I was installing, there's an air conditioner, a wall unit air conditioner I installed in the room, and I like insulated it and taped all this insulation up.
I see you.
And I was talking to Courtney afterwards, my wife, and I said, like, you know what? When I was a kid, I would have watched...
I dreamed of putting...
I dreamed of the woman of my dreams watching my ass crack as I installed.
Right, yeah.
No, I would have, as a young man, watched my dad do this and thought, like, what, like, a worldly, experienced, intelligent man to just do it. Of course, he lived a life in such a way where he can do handy, cool stuff, and he just installed the air conditioning unit. Here's the thing, though. He didn't know what the hell he was doing. Right. Just like I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I just did it. Yeah. And then I kept putting my hand next to it until there was no more hot air in. Feel hot air, more insulation, pretty repeat much. Until done.
That honestly, that's like most of handiwork that I know how to do. It's just, you just do it until it stops until it stops being broken. Is basically it.
Okay, here's the thing though. That's what everyone's doing. Yeah, it blows my mind. That's what we're all doing.
That's true.
And that's what we're all going to do until we die. We're just going to pretend like we know how to do it until we do know how to do it. And then we die. And then the next generation of people that doesn't know how to do anything.
And on our deathbeds, we go, I should have told them how to do it.
As we die in our un-air conditioned rooms.
He should know how to do it. No, you're totally right.
I have a very specific memory of when I was a kid, my dad building a picket fence at my mother's house. To like house my mother's pet pig because my life is weird. Okay. And I was like, of course my dad knows how to build a fence. Like
that's why he's doing it, because he knows how.
He was making it up. He didn't know. He didn't even read an article, I bet. He just did it.
Yeah, that's the thing that separates us now from people back then.
I can WikiHow.
Yeah. We gotta I gotta YouTube that. But then back then people were just like, well, I guess I'm gonna go do this thing now.
How to trap a pig good.
Yeah, I hate how to trap a. I recently had to fix some things on a house because we just moved out of it, and there was some weather stripping that I had to do, and I guess anybody who's ever put down weather stripping knows how insanely easy it is, but I didn't know, so I was like, well, I guess I should look this up, and it was like step 1, put it down, you idiot. And I was like, all right, I guess I know how to do it now.
Just drop it wherever.
Yeah, just put it down, and then you do the thing, and then it's there.
Can I ask you an important question?
Yes.
What's weather stripping? Should my house have it?
Listen, as a full-blown expert, I can tell you that it's like the things that go at the bottom on the sides of your door frame that keep air from getting in.
Oh, okay. I think we might have that.
Yeah, you might have that.
I'll look into it.
Well, you built this with your bare hands, so you would know. Okay, so Travis, not only does he build fantastic houses that don't have weather stripping, he also is a bassoonist, went to school for it, did that whole thing.
I did. It was
Tell me how you really feel.
It was a good choice.
I didn't.
It was one I don't regret ever.
You know, well, that's funny. Okay. Well, then tell me, explore.
I didn't start out as a bassoon major. I don't regret playing the bassoon. The bassoon was sick.
Okay.
Still is sick. I enjoy it when I do it.
Okay.
I enjoy it when people pay me to do it. But, okay, so I started out college as a music education major.
Gross.
Did it for a year, and at the end of that year, I was like, this sucks. This is
Yeah.
This is so bad. I did not know most of this was paperwork.
You thought it would be like giving flutes to kids? Or
I didn't
what?
see a single kid a whole year of college.
But is that what you want to do? Is that you want to like teach music to children and like spread the love and all that mess?
Yeah. Just it seemed
cool.
like seemed like a mostly people affecting and facing job, right?
I get that.
And when I got to college, it was mostly platitudes and multiple people requesting that I give 110%, which it's just like that's a red flag, right? If somebody says give 110%. That's like says something about them as a person,
right?
And not your level of effort.
If they feel like they need to do that, honestly, okay. This is anybody who has worked with me in a music way knows that I'm like this. I hate meetings that I don't really need to be at, but also I hate meetings where you get together before a performance and somebody says, "All right, everybody do their best," and then you walk away. I hate those so much.
Wait, there are people who just meet right before a performance and say, like, hands in, let's do this?
Oh, yes. In so many churches and bands, people, like, huddle up and they go, like, guys, this is going to be awesome. Let's just go out there and do it. I hate that so much. Not that I hate encouraging people, but I hate the fact that somebody, like, feels like that it's their job to tell me that. For the same reason. I hate that so much. That gets on my nerves.
Yeah, like practically it's like not...
Yeah.
Some people say there's like power in that like energy that you guys are giving each other, you know?
But I think you can do that without saying those words though.
Yeah. There's like a thoughtlessness to it. Like there's like I've seen Pentatonics do this in their YouTube videos.
right.
That's how I plan to live my life.
Exactly. Yeah. Like what if somebody came to you like before a performance and was like, "Dude, I'm so excited to hear you play this thing." That would like pump you up, right?
Yeah.
You'd be like, "Oh, somebody wants to hear me. That feels great. Let's do this.
Yeah.
Let's go, baby." These emojis. But if somebody like if they do it in like this weird instructing way, that gets on my nerves.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
I hate that.
Can I brief TO? Most of the screen is a doorway.
I want people to know that that there's something more for their life.
Okay, so this is a metaphor. We don't need to adjust it?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, just making sure.
Yeah, no, thanks for asking.
All right, then welcome to the Aldous Huxley cast.
Right. To me, that's the most of music that I'm coming in contact with. It's trying to be more inspirational than you actually are. Okay, so you made the amazing decision to be a music education major.
Yes.
And then where did it become about playing an instrument, or when would that become the focus?
Well, obviously it's part of the process, right? So after I decided music education wasn't for me is the right word. I actually like the sitting with a student one-on-one and just working through it.
Like teaching.
Yeah. It's like all the auxiliary stuff that I really dislike. So I was like, what if I was like a composition major?
Sure.
And so I went to my music guidance, my music admin in college, and said like, what about this? And I don't really like composition. I would like to do like music theory. And they said like, we don't offer that for it's for grad students only. It was music theory.
Interesting.
Yeah, the study of music theory was off limits to me.
It's like forbidden knowledge.
Yeah.
Right.
Rounded binary or go home for you.
Yeah.
So then I was just like, all right.
That joke.
Then I just said like, okay, I'll just major in bassoon performance and figure it out from there.
Okay.
And then I never did.
That's okay.
I just kept doing it.
Yeah, that's all right. So, I mean, that's not totally true, right? Like, I think that, you have to have these conversations a lot in bands. Like, what is success really? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Let's define success. Is success playing 200 days out of the year and then getting a stack of money after it, or you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
You kind of have to define that a little bit. So what was success? Or was that ever something, like, were you trying to be a successful, like, instrumentalist, or, like, what was your goal?
No, and I never practiced like it either, you know?
But at least you knew that.
Yeah.
You were aware of, what you put into it.
Yeah. It's kind of like, I'm trying to say it to soften the blow to me, but I don't know if I need to.
Okay.
There is part of it.
Is this now like a counseling session? Is that what's
No.
happening?
No.
Okay.
Okay. I am very talented. I think. Ask many of my teachers, and they will tell you I'm like a pretty talented musician.
Gotcha.
But I did not work in such a way to capitalize on that talent.
I see.
Partly because, and I don't think it was the work. I've worked hard for things before. I
don't necessarily think of you as a lazy person.
Yeah, I didn't work at it because I didn't want to be doing that work. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, that's a good distinction.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I think to be a good instrumentalist, you have to practice a lot of hours.
Yeah.
And not only that, but you have to like, for you, it's like you have to like make reeds and crap like that. You have to learn a certain kind of repertoire,
Reed making is actually one of the more fun parts for me. I actually really like.
Wow. I don't even know you anymore.
Okay, here's the thing.
It seems so lame.
Here's the
so
thing.
boring.
And
frustrating. I think that's the worst part. The lame and boring part I could deal with. Like if I had to wrap my own strings or something stupid like that, like I think I could. But if every once in a while if I wrapped it all the way and then it broke at the end and then it was impossible to play that string ever, that would be so frustrating.
Okay, here's the thing. Here is the how I know it's not for me. The work isn't for me. I sit down, I practice scales for 2 hours. I practice a piece of music for 2 hours. Mm-hmm. I am marginally better at this. And I know in my head that if I do this for 2 hours a day, every single day in 4 months from now, I will be very good at that thing.
Yeah.
But I feel like such a miserable sack of shit that accomplished nothing in 2 hours.
Really?
Afterwards. Yes.
Interesting.
I hate it. I hate that feeling of like doing something for 2 hours and not being tangibly better at it. Like just appreciably better at it.
Really?
Yes, I hate it. However, when I sit down and make a read, even if every single read sucks, I have a physical read.
Like you have a product after.
Yeah. And I get, every time I sit down with a batch of cane, I know I'm going to take 1/3 of those reeds and just throw them directly into the trash. They're all, that's just part and parcel of the process, right? But at the end, that's 66% of the reads. Some of them are like bangers, and I have a thing.
This read is a banger.
I have a thing that I created from like several.
When you get done with like a banger of a read, do you look at it and go like, "I see you, girl"? You know?
Yeah, I have like
What's
a
up,
hot
baby?
pink thread I use the good ones on.
That's good. Okay, cool. That's crazy to me that's the thing that you don't like, because the way that Travis and I met was through competitive gaming.
Yes.
Which is another area where you have to do that.
Yeah, and that's why I think that's why I like kind of fell off on it a little bit, right? Like
I don't know.
Like if every week I plateaued, right? And every week my results weren't good. I was going 0-2, 0-2, 0-2, 0-2, but I could feel myself getting closer. Mm-hmm. And then I was going 1-2, 1-2, 1-2, 1-2, and then I was going 2-2, and then I was like fringe top 10 in our very small city.
Right.
And never quite top 10, as people like to remind me. Shout out to Chase.
If anybody who's watching this knows exactly what place he was in Knoxville at a time, then post it in the comments. Interesting. And so
I guess that is like practice though, right?
Yeah.
There's a social aspect to it though. Right?
Yes.
When you're practicing
something competitive, it's different for sure.
Yeah. I can say like Josh, let's hang out, let's bang some stuff out. And we did do that several times.
Yeah.
And I go and there's a weekly tournament where I go gauge my process against like other people competitively, right? Okay. There's a PvP aspect.
Yeah, you're like getting data back at you. Okay, that makes sense.
And where I'm only competing against myself and it's subjective and I hate myself
in our conversations. Okay, so I'm gonna little tiny tangent here. Mm-hmm. So in we Travis and I used to play a certain like fighting games together. That's what we did. And in the realm of video game, like fighting game stuff, they describe 3 kinds of players.
Yeah.
Like that's like a popular kind of like theory is that there's like head players where they think through everything, they're very methodical. There's heart players where it's like you're playing based off of like instinct, you know what I mean? And then there's hands players.
Yeah.
People who are just like insanely technical, whatever. I would suggest that musically there are those things too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So there are like head players, people who have thought through, their pieces and thought through like exactly how they're going to play this, like whatever. And then there are heart players who are people who are just like incredibly emotive and moving when you watch them play. And then there are like hands players. Did I say that twice?
No, you didn't.
Okay. And then there are hands players who are people who just like, their chops are great from a young age. You know what I mean? Like They seem better than they are because they are, they could just physically do something at a better, with more success. I have heard you describe yourself as like a heart player.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like when you play music. So why not do something like create? You know what I mean? Like why not write? Why not arrange? Because, when you write something down, you're like, yep, there it is, 4 measures. You know what I mean? So you kind of get that, Matt. It's not the same. There's not as much of a social element, I guess. But if the data coming back at you, if that's what you need.
I don't know. I tried arranging some in college. I actually did I've mentioned to you before that I was in a prolific bassoon trio in college.
World renowned.
It was renowned in some parts of the world.
It's a fact. You can't take that away.
I dare you to find the parts of the world, though. I remember the arrangement pretty clearly. It was a bassoon trio medley of music from the Muppets show. Remember the Muppets TV show?
I do.
And it turned out okay. But first of all, music software, like on a computer, is so bad. Like all of it is terrible.
Like nowadays or then?
And I haven't tried recently. Okay. This is
now it's better, way better than it was for sure.
Yes, this was 2011.
Okay.
But it was so bad, and like I kind of hated the editing process too.
That is, that can be frustrating for sure.
So, and so it was just like I don't know. I just nothing sparked.
Okay.
Like anything. I remember, without getting too deep into it, a traumatic, tragic event affected my family a few years ago.
Oh, jeez, okay.
And hilarious.
I was like,
and I remember having a conversation with my dad, who said, like, you're a musician. I think it's strange that I don't see you processing this with like music. It's weird that I haven't seen you like make any music about it.
That's not fair.
No, I mean, no, and it wasn't like he wasn't being shitty. He just legitimately didn't understand how I but I was like, I had like no motivation when all that stuff happened to even think about like picking up my bassoon.
Yeah, that's how I am too.
Yeah. And so it was like, and I know some people like something real sad happens, you stay on the Titanic while it's sinking, and you play your what famously they played some string quartet. I don't remember specifically which one. But I'm definitely the second type that I mope. And
okay. Well, no, it's just interesting. I like to know what motivates people. We talk frequently in our like behind closed doors conversations for Lark about like what we want, how we're gonna get it. Like we're trying to be as specific as possible. That's part of the reason we're doing all these forms of content. And we're specifically the forms of content that we're doing. We're not just like out making whatever.
This feels a little bit like whatever. What you and me are doing.
Yeah, well, I understand why you said that. I mean, I think you're underestimating, and this is a conversation that we had. And it's like I am the kind of consumer who would listen to this.
Okay. Like
if I knew the people on screen, if I knew that, and I was driving for an hour, I would listen to them talk about. Like make stupid analogies about music and compare it to whatever just to because I think there's a part of me that like enjoys finding out that other people have thought about something as much as I have.
Yeah.
Not that I have like thought about something forever and I'm so knowledgeable about it. It's not that. But it's like I think when you're a person who dives into something, when you dive into literally anything, art, a skill, anything, there are times, so many times when you frequently go like, oh God, am I so lame? Is this worthless? Like, is this gonna matter? Like, what am I? You have these like weird kind of freak out moments where, you go like, oh man, this could be totally worthless. I might have just wasted a year of my life. For real. I mean, that's the truth. I mean, and so when I hear people have these, like when I listen to podcasts about people talking about whatever, even if it's gear, I'm like the least gear-oriented musician I know. I will listen to somebody talk about gear just because. Yeah. You know what I mean? Just to like hear like, okay, I think I can, I can think about chord substitutions a little bit longer now. I know that it's probably worth something. So it may seem like whatever, but I honestly, this is like exactly what I want out of it. It's like, motivations and things like that. I think that's important. It's important to talk about that because that's the kind of stuff to me that people don't talk about as much. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's it's that mental aspect of music and of really diving into something and putting a ton of time into it. That's where like you only talk about that when you hit like freak out moments, right? Like the whole inner game of tennis thing, which musicians quote constantly, esports people quote constantly, regular sports people quote, that's like a really popular thing because it's all about kind of like this meta internal struggle about, just about thinking about every aspect, which is very cool. Yeah. Okay. So part of the reason that Travis is here, and part of the reason that we've been talking about this whole thing is we actually did an episode on How Do You Nerd that was never released. That was never released, and it was with me and Jake, right? Jake, the guitar player for Lark. Obviously, anybody watching probably knows. Jake. But so we did an episode of it to talk about the band before we released anything, before we even had a name, right?
Yes, I have known of Lark since you were an unnamed jazz pop project.
Jazz pop. That's not our genre.
That's what you told me it was.
I don't know what I said, but I'm sure it's changed now.
Okay, yeah. So I stream my video game playing sometimes, and I have a music playlist that I have going in the background. Oh yeah. Super legal to do. No music label will ever be mad that I do that. But I do have one of Lark's songs on my playlist. Which one is it?
I think it's Invisible Things.
Yes, that's the one.
It's like pretty bumpy sounding.
Yes.
What's also cool is you actually heard our very first demos. Yeah. And the reason I know that is one of the songs is very like bassy. There's like just a lot of bass in the song, not like the mix, but so I brought it over and I played it for you and Courtney, and you said something like, "Sounds like a bass player wrote this song."
Yes.
And I was like, well, damn.
I remember this now. Because you were just doing like a walk-in bass line or something, and there was a guitar in the background doing something way more interesting than what you were doing. Awesome. And it was balanced in such a way where all you could hear was bass.
To be fair, early mix. Also, the speakers sucked. Also,
the shitty speakers was on purpose.
Also, I did write the song.
Yeah.
Nice
mix, bro.
Yeah, right. So it's kind of neat. It's kind of cool because Travis has been like a viewer from like every step of the way. Anyway, so what we're gonna do? So here's what's gonna happen next. I'm actually going to play sections of that episode that we never released. I'm going to play sections of the audio from that episode so that people can hear, probably not the whole thing, but I'm going to play parts of it just to hear like, it's like a look to the past. You know what I mean? We have on record, who knows? Originally, maybe it's somewhere in there I say like, yeah, we're really excited about this death metal band or, whatever. Maybe something like that slips or,
Was your kid born by then? This might be pre-baby.
Man, maybe.
I don't know. Cause we recorded a lot of episodes pre-baby and then post-baby with her just there in like a bassinet next to you.
Yeah, going like,
We had an unofficial third host for a lot of episodes.
We did, yeah. Also, you can if Travis still feels like paying for the life of our baby, How Do You Nerd? You can go check out an episode where we talked to Aaron about Kanye West, which is great.
Yes.
So definitely go check that out. It was right before he was on Saturday Night Live, and wore that MAGA hat.
We missed it.
Yeah, we missed it. It was like the week before that, for real. Anyway, so go check that out. I think it's just cool to like look back on that kind of stuff.
I think Jake also got his own episode as well.
Oh yeah, up for like guitar stuff, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, if you want to check out more content with me and Travis, go check out How Do You Nerd for a limited time only. And
download them now.
Yeah, maybe I'll put all those on my SoundCloud or something. I don't know. But
do you have the SoundCloud premium account?
I don't know. I have no limits, so.
Oh damn. Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know.
That sounds like premium to me.
Maybe. I don't know. But yeah, so check that out. Follow Travis. At what?
Twitch.tv/bassoonbuffoon. It's a sick name, dog.
That's a good one.
Lost a bet with somebody. That's my name now.
That's a good one. Honestly, it sounds like you won the bet. That's a good name. That's a good name.
Icon on my Twitch channel is
How Do You Nerd?
Is the How Do You Nerd boy.
Yeah. Go check out his stream so you can hear our hit single Invisible Things. Anyway,
playlist is like 60 songs long, so hang out.
So you gotta, it's worth it though. But yeah, so viewers, have a good time hearing this throwback episode of How Do You Nerd, and thank you, Travis, for being on here. It's great to have you. We'll have you on again.
Yeah, I'll fly out.
Awesome. Yeah. That's not what our show's about. But no matter what it's about, welcome everybody.
Well, speaking of babies, this is an episode about another baby of sorts.
Yeah, definitely. So, well, you lead this one because.
Okay, this is. We're gonna go inside the recording studio with. What's that guy's name who hosts Inside the Actors Studio? I don't know. James something. All right, I'm that. What? Inside the Actors Studio with James.
That show. Honestly, I would watch that.
He takes his clothes off and jumps into the ice in the beginning of every episode.
I'd watch that.
Hitherto forth, unnamed band. Name it.
Insert name here.
Wait, have you guys not named the band yet?
We really haven't.
I think it's Tree Beard.
Tree Beard? Like the guy from Lord of the Rings? No. I like that.
You're going to run into some copyright issues with that one.
Nah.
The name of the band is just Why Are There No Black People in Lord of the Rings?
Yeah, we've got one message. We've got one point that we're trying to get across. That's it. Yeah, the band, you know what, people... I was thinking about this specific thing because I was thinking about, we're going to go on this podcast and be like, as of right now, the band doesn't have a name. And I know that's going to seem weird to a lot of people. Musicians and non-musicians.
It's just weird you didn't warn your co-host, but whatever.
Yeah. But I was thinking about it, when you show up to a gaming tournament and it's your first one and somebody goes like, hey, what's your name? And you go, oh, my name's John. And they go, no. What is your gamer tag? And so right there you have to be like, my gamer tag is Dr. PP. And
Freshpoo52.
Yeah, Freshpoo52. and that is a little bit what this experience has been like. Like I'm sure it's gonna get to we're trying to book a gig, or I have to put something on the front of the CD.
It's gonna be awesome.
And then somebody's gonna be like, just say something, and I'm gonna say it, and it's gonna be Freshpoo52.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna be the band Freshpoo52. But so that's kind of the name was not. Even though it is a priority and we want it to be meaningful and blah blah blah, it is not something that we went. The music was our as lame as this sounds. The music was our first concern, and so
kind of hippie like that.
Yeah.
It's just about the art.
Yeah, dude. I'm just trying to.
I just want to spray my art all over all over the place.
What if you call the band FP52 and then they've got to come listen to How Do You Nerd
to figure out what it means?
Yeah. That's what. So when you guys are top of the charts and Ryan Seacrest is like FP what?
FP52.
And you refer them to episode
I don't want to call it FP52 because I don't want to get some weird email that says like, so you're telling me you think everybody should have a gun? You know what I mean, or something?
That's definitely a gun.
You think teachers should have guns? We're like, no. I don't want to get that email, so I don't want to call our band FP52.
I just want to arm every teacher with my rock.
Yeah. We're trying to give every teacher an art cannon to spray. Anyway, okay.
All right, so your band named Redacted.
Right. Ooh, like there.
That's not bad, actually.
You
Yeah,
put it in
it's not
brackets
bad.
on the CD.
I like it.
Just recorded an album. Newly formed band. You guys haven't even done live shows together, right?
Well, we've done secret shows.
Yeah.
But they were not. Yeah, but we called ourselves something different.
Mm-hmm.
Because there gets to a point in the music writing process, and we can talk about this or whatever you want. But there gets to a process where you have to workshop ideas.
Yeah.
Because you get too lost in your own headspace of being like, and then the music does this.
Yeah.
You know, and then you get too arty, and you're like, you know, on the paper it's written as sevens, but on, you know. and so because I don't ever want to end up like that, I always try to make workshopping music ideas like a little bit of a priority.
Do you want to share your secret name, like your alt name,
Oh.
or do you want to be able to use
like
it?
what we used?
What do we
I
use?
don't know.
I just showed up and played, man.
Probably FP52.
FP52.
I don't even remember.
Every time, it's funny, like, I've never been in another band that has had this much of, like, a roadblock with band name.
Yeah.
It's usually just somebody who's like, oh, yeah, like, Dookie Stain.
Yeah.
And then everyone else
Everybody's
was
like,
like,
"Yeah, let's go."
yes! You know?
Yeah, that's true.
But I think that's also because a lot of bands, you come up with, like, the concept or something before you start with the music.
Yeah.
In some ways. And sometimes, like, just picking a random name, like, cements a lot of ideas about, like, the image or, like, the vibe of the band or something.
Yeah.
So it's been kind of cool in that way that it's sort of just been, like, it feels like it's been more just everyone's ideas as opposed to, like, what this band should be.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah, that's true. In fact, Hannah and I were talking because I was like, Hannah, tell me what to name this band. And after we got all of like the joke answers out of the way, she was like, okay, well, what does the band like stand for? And I listened, and my list was really short, which every other band I've been in, that list would have been a lot longer. You know, I would have been like, you know, I want to sound like this, and I want to, you know, I want to write music like this, but I want people to react to it this way, but I want to, you know, I would have gone into like audience theory and like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean, like
Yeah,
that
yeah.
aspect. But this we didn't really do that.
No.
We haven't done that. I am a firm believer that music can succeed internally before it succeeds externally, which
Yeah.
makes it a really different product, which is interesting. So I guess in that regard, I think that we've had success internally.
Yeah.
You know?
What would you define that as? Like what? Like I think I know what you mean, but like talk about what you
like I think there have been times like when, you know, we'll like run a song, especially before this recording, because, you know, the drummer flew in from L.A.
Mm-hmm.
Jake now lives in Georgia, so he came up for this,
Okay.
and or Atlanta, which is in Georgia, and then
Technically.
me, and then technically, and then me, and me and the other guy are from here, so we haven't been like meeting as a band for a really long time.
Yeah, that's true.
Wait, let's name the band. If this is to promote the band, let's talk about the band actually.
Okay.
So it's you, Joshua Howard,
Right.
on bass and lyrics? ?
Yeah, I don't think that's how you put it on a CD, but
Bass
yeah.
and writing.
Bass
Yeah.
and writing.
Band leader Josh Howard.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
He doesn't like that,
I
but
don't like that. Yeah.
But he is the mind behind he's the evil genius behind the music.
he's the dick behind the music.
Yes. Okay.
Just kidding. I'm sorry.
I don't know. Only
You
because
can edit that out later.
Never.
I'm living it. The only reason I don't like that for our situation is because it doesn't. I don't have like more say than everybody else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what
That's
I mean?
true.
Like,
That's true.
there's no like, well, at the end of the day, Josh is fronting the whole thing. So it's like, you know what I mean?
Is that by design? By your design? Is that like you never wanted to be that guy, or you think that it's collaboratively and more?
I think that it just kind of happened that way.
Yeah. What was the way you described it as? if there was like a crisis or a natural disaster and someone stood up on a someone stood up on like a chair or something and just started directing people.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know.
That's what I am in the band.
You're FEMA to the band?
Yeah, I'm like the traffic cop.
Yeah.
Okay.
If I had to like put a label to it, I think that's closer to what I am and end up being for the band. But also, I'm also a traffic cop that's like, all right, nothing to see here, keep moving. And then if Jake is on the other side of the crowd going like, hey, everybody come over here instead. I'm like, all right, well, everybody, you know what I mean?
He has as much say as I do.
Right. But I mean, I think
Right.
you know, there's something to be said about that process. I think that you know.
So you're like a volunteer deputy sheriff.
For sure.
Ooh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. I've definitely got like a little kid badge. You know what I mean? Like a plastic badge.
Safety patrol.
Yeah, right. Got a sash. like a hall monitor, but for the band.
Were you guys ever in the safety patrol though?
I was. And I had to explain to my wife what that was recently, and she makes
really?
fun of me now.
Now
Yeah.
explain it to me.
You didn't have safety patrol where you were from either.
No.
Do you want to take this one, Jake?
Is it?
The extent of what I remember about being in safety patrol is I had a sash or a little like belt, seat belt
It's a
looking
sash.
thing.
No,
A
you're
So
sash.
you've heard of the Gestapo,
You're
right?
Yes.
Say no more.
Same basic concept. Me and my partner in the safety patrol.
You have partners?
Yeah. Oh yeah. We had partners, dude.
So you had a meet the partner moment, like that they have in like buddy.
Oh yeah.
I ended up being college roommates with my safety patrol partner.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's dope.
What are we talking about?
I was the best man in his wedding.
This is a deep relationship.
Yeah, I know, right? Okay, so safety patrol, they take fifth graders, the largest humans at an elementary school other than the adults, right? They take them, and they basically make them like little informal traffic cops.
Yeah.
For some reason. So, like, they're like directing the morning traffic at the school.
Sort of. They're sort of directing.
They're still.
It's like under the watchful eye of a teacher or like another.
Some like teacher who's like scrolling through Facebook.
Yeah. Well, Back then, not so much.
Well, yeah.
My specific safety patrol job was I helped the kindergartners get on their buses home.
Oh, okay.
Did you ever lose one?
No, but I would frequently just forget to go. It was like right in the middle of the day. And
Yeah, who remembers anything in the middle of the day?
yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say the extent of my duties were my partner and I had a rope that we held up to stop cars from going in a certain entrance, or if it was like a teacher or something, we let the rope down, and that was our only job.
Crazy. Safety patrol.
I remember this kid who
Also
was
a cool band name.
That would be a cool band name. Yeah.
Definitely copyrighted.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
There was this kid who was in my room though who got pooped on by a bird in the face on that field trip.
Which is probably pretty funny.
It was a pretty great feeling.
Yeah.
To watch
I'm
this
really
kid
glad that
get-
sentence ended by a bird.
Yeah, me too. I was like, oh no. When you said by a bird, everything was cool.
and by me.
Hi, I'm a bird.
My nickname at school, a bird. Yeah.
Okay, so you're the safety patrol base.
Yeah. So I'm safety patrol of the band.
Jake, what do you do?
Kind of.
I play the guitars.
We should establish
And
former guest and illustrious gentleman, Jake,
Yeah.
who fan of sludgy sounds and electrical
Yeah.
stringed instruments.
That's
right.
true.
That's right.
How like
And fancy soap, was that a topic, I believe, as well?
Yeah, I think it was.
Artisanal soap.
okay, so you played guitar in this mystery named band?
Yeah, correct. Yeah. And that was about the extent of my contribution. I don't feel like
I mean, on paper. I mean,
on paper, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I guess I just meant that I didn't like play any other instruments or whatever.
Oh,
or anything like that.
Yeah,
So
right.
yeah.
Were you involved in the writing process?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
So the writing was collaborative through all five.
Yeah, it was
of you?
collaborative.
Four.
Yeah.
For sure. I think the way that it worked in my mind at least was Josh kind of would have the core concepts for the songs.
Mm-hmm. Like you
And-
should have notes.
Yeah.
Yeah, right, exactly. And then like me or Aaron or whoever else would just kind of come in and like elaborate on those.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
Now, Aaron, what is this name I'm hearing?
Aaron. Kanye West. Was also on our podcast.
Okay. Involved in Redacted.
Yeah, involved in safety patrol. Yeah. Yeah. He's as of right now, he is the, I guess, lead singer.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like the lead singer and then also plays keys.
All right, so who's the mystery fourth band member?
Right. You talk about him.
Where
What
did
can
he
you say?
Where did
A mysterious out-of-towner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Out-of-towner, Garrett Tillman, who's
I know that name.
he's been a hot cat in the Knoxville scene.
A very attractive feline.
I wish I hadn't said that. Yeah, he's a guy. He plays drums.
Yeah,
he's great.
Went to UT.
Yeah, went to UT.
Okay.
Did jazz there,
Yeah.
and then has since sounds a lot different than he used to. But
Yeah.
yeah, but he was like, the way the band originally formed was it was me and Jake
Right.
and Garrett. We were all there's like a new, at the time there was a new church that was just looking for musicians.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so they hired all three of us. Well, I guess they hired me, and then they were like, if you could play with the drummer, and I was like, Garrett.
Yeah.
And
right.
then they were like, and then I had just met Jake,
Uh-huh.
and Jake was kind of like in the same system, and they were like,
Yeah,
who
yeah.
should we get for guitar? And I was like, dude, I just played with this guy, hire him.
Yeah.
And then, but turns out the three of us, the connection we had, despite whatever genre it was like, definitely something special.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
yeah, it's kind of absurd.
And so you said we got to put this on tape.
Yeah, but don't name it.
We have to anonymously
Yeah.
put this on tape.
Yeah. Which you said new band. Oh, I mean, I guess that's true, but really, we've been a band for.
The roots of this band date back many years.
Ooh, the Roots. That's a good name.
I don't know. It's like 2 years.
Yeah.
Does anybody
yeah,
have
which is
that?
a long time,
Yeah.
huh? The Roots.
Yeah, it was not worth interrupting.
Yeah, I don't think it'll ever. I don't think. Well, whatever. My joke's bad. But yeah. So the band, it's like 2016 was like November, something like that. December.
Yeah, something like that.
It's like something. Yeah.
It's funny though because like I got asked to play that gig, and I wasn't even like interested really at that point in like doing professional music, you know.
Oh wow.
So it was
Crazy.
it was like really weird because I was still going to UT just for like psychology, and like working a retail job, and I ended up like doing that and playing with you guys and just like totally sort of changed my perspective on like being a musician and stuff.
That's crazy.
And so I kind of associate all that with like the beginnings of this band too, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, it was wild.
So, yeah.
Anyway. Okay, so what did you originally want to talk about? You were saying, because we could continue to go down this road, but I want to know what was it, when I told you, I was like, hey, I'm not going to be able to do whatever, blah, 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 blah. Or we were just talking casually.
You told me about this in January.
Yeah. We were, we've been planning it for a while.
Yeah.
And yeah, so saying that there was going to be like 2 weeks where I was like slammed and was not allowed to see anybody else.
Yeah.
I didn't even play Rivals.
Damn.
Yeah, I know.
That's big.
Yeah, I knew it was going to eat up too much of my time.
Big if true.
It wasn't worth it.
What did Lotus do without you, dude?
Dude, let a lot of people in.
Did they really?
I don't want to talk about it. I don't talk about it.
Because you weren't there to like gatekeep them and like the weirdo
No.
crew battle?
I know. We can talk about it when there's no mic on.
Okay.
This is now a Rivals podcast.
It's just gonna waste time.
They all kind of turn into that.
Right.
God, I hope that's not the case. Anyway, so because I guess I've been involved in a lot of CD making, as both in charge and not in charge, both creatively and not creatively at all, just kind of like a hired dude to play bass. And I know Jake has a bunch of experience in music.
Yeah.
And so what was it? What was it about? What is it about talking about this? Like, what is intriguing to you?
Okay.
You know what I mean?
I want to talk about the process of making a CD a little bit, especially one that is not like self-made, but like Capitol Records didn't come in and like
fund it. And
do
Right.
this.
Yeah.
Right.
And I want to talk about this specific record as like I want you to sell it to anybody listening that like
Sure.
maybe not sell it like a salesman, but sell it like gather interest in.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about the process. You've been writing music for this specific album for like
a year and a half, maybe.
Well, I guess we wrote 3 songs.
Right. Yeah. So we did some demos back like a year ago, basically.
Okay.
And then we
And that was just the three of you without Aaron?
No, it was 4 of us.
It was all
He
four
was
of us.
he was,
yeah.
he
Plus-
was in by then.
Plus another vocalist who sang like backup.
Right.
Kind of.
Mm-hmm.
Who's doing the singing? Aaron?
Aaron and then this girl named Tirza.
Okay.
It's funny. I've still never met her.
Really?
Yeah, no, I've never met her.
Oh.
I've never even been in. I've been on the same track as her, but never. Yeah,
That's wild.
never met her. So,
Um,
but yeah, we did these songs back in, like March or February of last year maybe,
Yeah.
and then I think it was really when Garrett moved, us and Aaron, the three of us started getting together pretty regularly and kind of like working out some ideas and talking. And so I think that process was a lot more regular and involved than when we did those first 3 songs, which were just kind of like, we had jammed a bunch and like found a few ideas that we all kind of like agreed were kind of the focal points of what we had done.
Mm-hmm.
And so
what we were trying to accomplish.
Yeah, what we were trying to accomplish
Yeah.
just through those kind of like sessions of whatever. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that when it was coming, we did those demos and then we got them back, and I think the first like 2 weeks, I was like, this is so sick.
Yeah.
But then after that initial like honeymoon period, I was just finding things wrong a lot, and I was also kind of like looking. There was just something wrong with the way that everything was.
It didn't feel like it had the same energy as when the 3 of us had first started playing together, and we were like, oh, it'd be awesome if we like recorded some songs.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
For
so
sure.
it felt like even then we were kind of just like a little off track, just a little bit, enough for it to like make an artistic impactfulness to what was happening.
Yeah.
And so then I was also at the time we were also kind of looking for next steps, or I was looking for next steps. and so I was like, we need to re-record these songs, and then also I love playing live. I love that. Like when we were in the studio last week, Garrett was like, dude, I could do this all the time, just make records. And I was saying to myself like, holy moly, dude, I don't know.
Really?
But I mean, I like it, but it's not like it would be taxing.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
But like playing live like fuels me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Sure.
I could do that a lot. Anyway, so I also wanted to play gigs because I like doing that, and also it kind of just it's like an obvious next step, right?
Yeah.
And so part of that is like filling out. Most bands when they start, they're like, okay, we're a band technically. What should we do? Most the first 5 things you do past like choose a name and make a Facebook or whatever. The next, pretty early on, you kind of meet this like where like, okay, if we have 2 songs, that's great, but a set of music is 45 minutes. That's standard.
Yeah.
And so we needed a set. And so that was kind of like, I was like, all right, we need to write more music, because a lot of people do this thing where they'll do like covers and originals. Mm-hmm. And then if they get success,
They'll like phase out the covers.
yeah, well, they'll phase out the originals because it's easier to get gigs with covers.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? Like, you'll be a band that has 3 originals and 12 covers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which was not what I wanted. It just didn't make sense for us.
Right.
Even though I wouldn't mind doing covers. But
So the band's rep list has 0 covers.
currently, I mean, we know a lot of songs.
Yeah.
But,
We could do a frat party, I suppose.
I mean, yeah, we could play like a...
I don't know.
I mean, we could play like, get up and play a 3-hour gig of covers, fine.
Totally.
Yeah.
But that's not, I mean, as far as like...
That's not the goal.
Yeah,
that's not the
goal.
idea.
Yeah. And so it was like, you know what, if I found things, if I and everybody else found things wrong with these first 3 songs, we're gonna end up writing them. It just makes sense, and we need a set. It just makes sense to write, just do an album, do a whole album.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was kind of how that started, was almost out of necessity.
Pretty much.
Which we would have gotten there eventually anyway.
Yeah.
What's the elevator pitch of just the band's sound? Because I've heard 0 notes.
Yeah, it's like, it's definitely a form of rock.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna let you take this one first, and then I'll fill in.
Yeah. I would be curious honestly what everybody says.
Yeah.
Sludginess, 1 to 10.
6.
Whoa, 6
Let's
sludges?
go,
3.
dude. Let's go.
Ideally 6.
Yeah. During Jake's guitar solos, 6. I think
It's a knob that he just turns up.
Sludge. I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, if you had a pedal that has sludge knob.
There's a pedal that just came out. Sorry, quick aside. There's a pedal that just came out that I got an email about, just called the Doom Stick.
Yo.
And it just made me so happy.
I'm suing them for copyright infringement because that is what my penis is called.
Yeah, that's probably on paper somewhere. That's probably in a text somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Snapchat, perhaps. Continue, sorry.
Yeah, so I would say that the elevator pitch for this band is like, it is kind of like R&B rock, but is like kind of proggy at the same time.
Yeah.
That's like, as far as like sounds are concerned, that's what I would say. So we kind of we're definitely a band that has solos. We're definitely a band that has like, I hate saying this, but that's a band that has like complex harmony. We our song forms are, we have like non-standard song forms sometimes.
Sure. Yeah.
But I think when you would hear it, a lot of people would listen to it and be like, oh, that's jazz, but it's not jazz at all, even a little bit. But
they hear like non-triad chords and think.
Right.
Oh,
They hear like
jazz.
they hear extended harmony and then like a black person singing and they go like, oh,
Jazz.
Sick jazz.
Yeah, my dad heard an Instagram story that like I took when we were at the studio, and he goes, "Oh, I didn't know you were doing a jazz album."
Right. Yeah. And it's
He literally
you can't be
said
mad
that.
about that. But
Yeah,
it's
and
like,
I was just like, okay.
yeah. So yeah, I would say that's probably what I would say as far as like sound wise.
Okay.
That's kind of what we sound like. That's what I think.
Yeah, I think that's pretty accurate, and I mean, it's obviously it's like tough to like pigeonhole anything as like genre labels get associated to things after the fact always.
Yeah.
But I think
That's a good point.
based on like from where we're coming from, I would say like R&B rock with some prog elements is pretty accurate.
Yeah.
And yeah, like some like improvisational elements, because a lot of prog stuff is pretty light on improvisation. It's very planned out and structured a lot of times, which I think we have some of that, but it's been a point from everybody to keep things sort of like loose in terms of certain sections of songs and stuff like that.
Definitely. I think like some of our main influences, as far as like conceptually when we were writing the music, or maybe just in like text, like, hey, it feels this way, or it's like whatever, is like the ones that kind of have been passed around a bunch are like Rage Against the Machine, a little bit of Zeppelin. I think I know that Aaron and I have constantly used Anderson .Paak as far as the way he arranges songs,
Right.
Okay.
and I think lyrically too, the way that he kind of lyrically does things. We've used Anderson .Paak's stuff as an example,
because he has kind of like an R&B rock thing going on.
right? Yeah,
at certain
it's
points,
very similar, and
which is
same
cool.
with Raphael Sadiq.
Yeah,
Like
totally.
I would say the same thing about Raphael Sadiq, like, and who was another person that we've kind of used as like,
I think about maybe like certain like Snarky Puppy songs.
Yeah, probably.
Kind of are in a similar like thought process of how they're composed.
Yeah, I think so. But yeah. I mean, that's a terrible elevator pitch. By the time I got done with that elevator pitch,
That's
would
like
be
the Empire State Building.
Yeah,
They would've
They
gotten
would be like 60th floor, whatever. But it's hard. It's tough to say.
Yeah.
I think it's also tough to say because as far as like what we've discussed about what our goals are artistically, they're pretty specific.
Yeah.
So it's hard when you're trying to pitch somebody with general terms, something that in private you have pitched only specifically.
Well, what are your goals? You keep talking about these goals that you have.
Yeah.
And they're very specific.
I think the goals. I think some of the goals that we have are to portray. And I'm gonna say this, and you're gonna be like, yeah, dude, that's what music does. But I think our goals are to portray certain things that we view about life as accurately as possible. And when I say that, I mean like it's easy. It's really easy to write a love song, and I definitely think that there should never be a point in time in music when people stop writing love songs. But it's one thing to write a love song, but it's another thing to write a love song that is very specific. You know what I mean? That's talking about not just a general relationship, but a specific kind of relationship.
Yeah. Or one that's one that like really appeals to that thing that you actually feel, that really gets into that emotion.
As opposed to like,
you
know, bye 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 bye. You know,
right.
Which I think both are valid.
I would totally agree with that. Like I think there's a big component of it that's like, coming from a sort of like spiritual place of like, how do you put that into music without it ever being with it accurately expressing that feeling and those emotions and that kind of like just like feelings about life, or like feelings just about I don't know, sort of like nature or whatever, like connecting with like life.
Yeah, I think I heard somebody say once that good artists don't give people answers; they make people ask questions.
Okay.
And so I think that's something lyrically that we've really tried to lean into.
Mm-hmm.
Like the rap genius for this album is just gonna be off the walls.
Oh yeah. No, I just mean like you know, I've often thought that, you know, as much as I love skin deep music, I just can't sit down and write it. In a way that I can't sit down and write it and like sit around and like believe in it. You know what I mean? Like I write it all day, but I couldn't like put a, you know, I couldn't financially invest and put a band together and whatever. So you know what we're attempting to write about are like, you know, like we're attempting to write about seemingly like something with some depth. You know, about you know we're trying to comment, you know, what any other writer is doing. We're trying to comment on the things that we see.
Yeah.
You know, like in our daily lives.
Right.
And so, you know, everybody knows what's going on right now. You know, in the country and just in a lot.
So
of
this is a very happy, like good, like lots of good stuff.
I mean, I think in general it is kind of a happy album. But
hopeful maybe.
Yeah, hopeful is definitely a much better way to put that. But you know, that's what we're trying to accomplish. We're trying to. Part of it was we were trying to convey artistically like very real things.
Yeah.
Which it's easy, you know. I think as an outsider, it's easy to be like, well, duh. Why would you do something fake?
Right.
Well, the truth is because putting something fake or skin deep is easy. You know, that's easy to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know? But to put something real on a recording and to like keep yourself accountable to that all the time.
Yeah.
You know, there's you can write 40% of a real song, get to the 41% of the song and be like,
the 41th.
You know, let's just bail. You know, and then because of that, you know, the rest of the song is going to be cheesy or skin deep or something.
Yeah.
And then the entire song becomes that way.
I think I would just add to that too. I mean, like you said, a lot of people would say that they're the place that they're coming from writing music is expressing something really real or whatever. I wouldn't like disagree with that or like put that down or anything like that. I guess the way I just feel about it is that like for me expressing that looks different, a lot different than it does in most references I can cite or whatever like that. And so there's a certain way of putting some of that into music, like harmonically and rhythmically and just like emotionally, that to me like ends up coming out just as a really different product, like than what some other people would express it as, I guess.
Like, you know, when we were talking about ideas, we wanted anything musically to kind of be on the table, which a lot of people have said. Mm-hmm. Like a ton of people have said like, well, yeah, let's just anything goes. A lot of people have said that. Yeah. But, you know, our I think as like writers and musicians who have worked for a while, I think that you know, how do you put a drum solo in a song, but then also make sure that drum solo is like meaningful to the point. Those are the kinds of things that we've like have been trying to consider the entire time, which is exhausting. But then also like you know how do I communicate? You know, how do I communicate what it's like to see somebody that is like in like a depressed place, and try and communicate to that person like yeah, you are exactly where I was.
Is that a real?
This is I'm now talking about a real song.
Okay.
So one of the songs is identifying, is as far as the singer, as far as the the storyteller is concerned, they are speaking to one person, and they are communicating about like, you are in a place that I have been before.
Yeah. I
promise you there is a way out.
Okay.
Like, let's figure it out, or I'll show you what worked for me.
Mm-hmm.
Do whatever, then it's up to you, you know what I mean? And it's like,
it's a really specific emotion
exactly,
to put into a song.
As opposed to just saying like, this is a story about you being sad and how I was sad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's...
This is the story of it.
Right, yeah. Well, yeah, kind of, you know what I mean? It's like... But then how do you communicate... This is the thing as a writer that's been tough for me, is like, how do you communicate specific things without connecting all the dots for your listener? Because nobody likes songs where all the dots are connected. You know what I mean? It's like, it's too boring. It's too boring, it's too... And also, if you don't like what they're talking about, you don't like the song.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like good stories show you, and they don't tell you.
Exactly.
I really want the track that you're talking about to be called, like, The Ballad of Steve Johnson.
No. It's nothing like that.
The Ballad of Ricky Bobby.
Yeah. Dude, talk about a guy who's seen it all. So, as far as, like, you were talking about what are those rules. That's, like, a really long explanation for some of the rules that we have, like, set for ourselves.
Yeah.
I tried to, like, keep most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
As far as process goes, like, well, I guess the initial part of what we were talking about I feel like all that stuff is kind of like the pre-process,
Yeah.
That's like the way before you ever get into the specifics of how are we going to write these songs, like what chords to use, what melodies do you hear, whatever. That stuff is all in the very, very, like, forefront, Yeah.
Okay.
So, the preamble, if you will.
Well, okay, so let's talk about the Ballad of Steve Johnson a little bit more.
Okay.
So you sit down, I want to write a song about what I'm observing in my good friend Steve.
Right.
Step B.
Yeah, step B for me is, and this is a tip that I got from somebody else, was I sit down and I start writing the song and then I finish it.
Okay, so you wrote 3 verses, a chorus, and a bridge?
Right.
Okay.
And don't micromanage myself on the way.
Yeah.
Like, stay in the headspace of the Ballad of Steve Johnson as long as possible. Like, I might have taken breaks or whatever, I'm typing, words and then I'll say, like, in parentheses feels like this, or in parentheses says this.
Yeah.
I'll put, like, asterisk, some, like, poetic nonsense phrase that I feel like fits how it feels or whatever.
Yeah.
So then do all of that and then go back and edit it.
Mm-hmm. Write papers too.
Is it?
Yeah.
Well, I think it's
not recommended.
That blew me away when somebody said that, because they were talking about writer's block, and they were saying, like, they were like, hey, they were like, anytime you have writer's block, part of the problem is you're trying to convince yourself that you're not a bad writer. And so whenever you have a bad idea, you don't want to write it down, because then you're now technically a bad writer.
I like that.
But so what you should do instead of doing that is just write it down and get it out of the way. That'll keep it that keeps your momentum up rather than stops it cold and you're right there. Anyway, so step B for me is I sit down and I just write, like, even if I don't have exactly the words, I'll say, like, and in this point of the song, I'm patting him on the back, and in this point, whatever. And then I'll finish the entire song, like whatever the whole song is about.
I'm a little surprised, because if somebody, like, made me put money on the table and say, like, how does Josh's process work, I would have had you pegged for a melody first guy.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
It
always changes.
Yeah. I think that's a problem that a lot of young writers come in contact with, is they say, like, do I start with the chords first, or do I start with the melody first? Mm-hmm. Do I start with the blah first, or whatever? And the truth is, it's not, like, it doesn't really work that way.
Yeah.
It's like but a lot of times, like, there were a lot of times when I had like chords, melody, words.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then along with that, I would have just a straight up description of what the song was about.
Yeah.
You know, rather than like there's like zero storytelling, and I'm just like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was cool because you would kind of present those to us in different orders like that sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, where you would just be like, okay, the vibe, like I have the vibe for this song and that's it, and it's Stevie Wonder, and here's the chords, you know.
Yeah.
And that for me like kept things really interesting, you know, exciting to like come at things from different angles, you know.
Sure.
So since you guys are so scattered, are you like meeting once a month on Skype or whatever?
For a while, we were like he said, like we were meeting. I don't know how we met this consistently.
Yeah, we met at Aaron's house like once a week, maybe.
Yeah, for a long time.
Yeah, at least like 2 or 3 times a month for a few months.
I had like a whiteboard of
Yeah.
stuff to do, and we just
Yeah.
like get in there and
It was pretty.
it's fun.
Yeah, we were pretty diligent actually.
Yeah, well, I'm very surprised.
I'm surprised as well. Yeah.
Because we never had the conversation of, all right, we're meeting once a week
Yeah.
for the next whatever.
Yeah, I think it was just like something we all did and we had fun doing it,
Yeah,
and it was important to all of us.
Yeah.
Or it felt that way anyways.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, so I think step B is that. Step
Okay.
B is like the story in its entirety. So, you know, the important part to me in step B is to not write in chunks. Is to
Yeah.
like kind of like squeeze the sponge as much as possible
Yeah.
right when it's like right there happening.
Get those
for the
last
first time.
drops of toothpaste out while
Totally.
you still can.
Yeah, I mean it matters. It really
Yeah.
does, because you'll come back to a song and you'll be like, it'll take me like 45 minutes just to get back into the same mood or feeling I was at when I was writing it the first time.
So just as a, I like to think in microcosms of like, so specifically the Ballad of Steve Johnson, like a whole Saturday.
No, I think the first thing. Also, where I'm at right now as far as writing is concerned, which I actually think most of us, everybody in the band is there playing wise, is I tried to not force anything.
Mm-hmm.
I would be playing like just like these 2 chords back and forth, and I'd be like, all right, what do I actually want to hear next? And I would just like, I would get to that point and I would stop, and I would just sing the next note that came out in my brain.
Okay.
And I'd be like, that's the chord. And then I would go there.
Okay.
Instead of be like, ooh, this would be cool. Ooh,
Yeah.
this would be cool.
Yeah, that's really
yeah.
good. Yeah, and playing that way on top of what you had already written, I think worked for me really well. Like coming up with parts, because I would just try and sort of turn my brain off as much as possible.
Totally.
Definitely during the like solos and improv parts.
I was going to mention that, actually.
I would just try and play whatever was happening, as opposed to like trying to write a solo, you know,
Yeah.
or write a guitar part. And that's something that feels the most natural to me.
There was one on the day of when we were recording. Jake had hit me up beforehand and was like, dude, what if we did this chord progression for the solo? And I was like, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's do it. And then we got there, and Jake did like a pass or two where he did this specific thing that would have required us to play these chords.
Yeah.
And then like the third and fourth take, or however many it was after that, were like so good, but he didn't do that. And so like as the person who's seen both sides, I was like, oh, he's like now made the decision to get out of his own head.
Yeah.
And to just like attempt to, you know, just
Totally.
play like gut, like with your gut.
Yeah.
You know, which is cool.
That's
And that's what we chose too.
Right.
That was what we went with, which was crazy.
okay. So let's get into the mechanical recording of the album, which is something like. Maybe this whole section is going to be masturbatory, and I just have questions, and people don't want to hear about it.
Right.
In general, though, I actually am just masturbating.
Right.
But in general, though, I feel like if we're all
It's a podcast, not a video cast, so it's okay.
Yeah. This is fascinating. Really like that, huh?
Wow, it's so loud.
but in general, though, I found that if we are genuinely interested in the thing, then like
Other
it
people
just
end up
yeah. Okay, so the process of recording this album specifically, you did it all in one day.
God.
I saw a post on Facebook that you pulled like a 20-hour day doing
It
this.
was just like an hour too short of 24 hours. It was.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
It was. It felt crazy.
I was up at 6, and I think you were too.
Yeah.
And I went to bed at like 4:45.
Yeah, same.
Wow.
Same. Yeah, we
Almost 24 hours later.
we started driving at 6:30,
Yeah.
and then
You recorded in town?
We recorded in Nashville. We started recording. We started driving at 6:30. I got back and got into bed at like 5:15.
Damn.
It was a very long day.
You were in the studio, just in the studio for like probably 12 hours. It sounds like.
Well, we were getting sounds at 9.
Yeah.
And then we
it was
left
more,
the studio.
yeah, even more than 12 hours. I mean, we had a lunch break, but we left at what?
But we didn't take a dinner break. I
didn't
didn't think about that until after we left.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah, we were making sounds at 9. So like dialing in tones. So like first thing you do when you get there is and we were at this guy's, like, he had kind of like renovated the bottom floor of his house into like this studio.
Cool.
And so we were just doing like the nitty gritty of like, and for bass that's literally like nothing.
Yeah.
You know, I like plugged into one thing and I plugged into 2 things and I was like, nope, this one sounds better.
Right.
But Jake was like,
it's still, well, yeah. So like with guitars, it's a little bit different every time because like some records or some songs that you record, you get really, really into it and you think a ton about different, just different like physical like mechanics of things like the tones and the way the setup works and the signal flow of all the effects and the way the amp is mic'd. Like there's so many variables to it. Yeah. And this I would say was maybe on the less like tweaky side of recordings I've ever done, where I tried not to think about some of that stuff quite as much.
That's interesting.
But yeah, I mean definitely
for time's sake, or to just get in a less micromanagey headspace.
Both.
Okay.
Both, but probably more the latter. Yeah, because I wanted to just play more than think about like parts.
Because part of what we so we got those demos back, those 3 demos, and what we had realized after like talking about it is that the way that we problem solved in the demos was a very recording music way. So we would get to a spot in the song and be like, man, it just doesn't feel right. You know what we should do? Another guitar track. You know what I mean? And so every song, if you had enough people to play every part that was in the songs, sometimes there would be like 20 people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We would do like 3 guitars over here. There's one spot in one of the songs in particular I'm thinking of where it was like 2 guitars right, 2 guitars left, 1 guitar center.
Yeah.
You know, bass, drums, auxiliary percussion. Like, you know, and that's kind of how we problem solved because the producer that we were working with, that's how he did things. And so anytime he was like, I can make it sound right, let's just do this.
Yeah.
And we were like, yeah, let's do it. But the truth is that we all come from live music. That's where we all come from first. So it didn't fit our personality as a band and as musicians.
Yeah. It ended up sounding really crowded.
Yeah.
In the mixes, if you will. Really, really like dense.
Thick. Yeah.
Which
is not how we sound.
Right.
I would say we sound like loud before we sound dense.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And so that's the kind of thing we wanted to come across. But so I think it's cool because, you know, I think a lot of us took, and as far as our and myself included, my own like preparation for the recording when I was practicing like at night, I took that into account. You know, I never wanted to do key bass and bass on the same track.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to, you know what I mean, which is something that I would have done before. Or vocal bass and bass, you know what I mean? Something like
and I think we kept guitars to like 2 tracks at most ever.
Yeah, which is not normal now.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, like if you think like Nashville is really big for this, like the whole pop country thing.
Yeah.
They'll layer guitar track on guitar track on guitar track to like as a dynamic thing, you know, like a bigger part of the song gets bigger because there's more guitar parts, not because of the way they're playing.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, so instead of strumming harder, they just like introduce more guitars.
Right. Yeah.
A lot of times, totally. Like you'll put
It's the benefit.
You'll put like a lower tuned baritone guitar under a normal tuned guitar line to add like bigness, if you will.
You can turn it down while still feeling bigger than the last part of the song. So both parts of the song can literally be the same volume, but one of them is literally just thicker.
Yeah.
So when you hear it, it doesn't hurt your ears, but you go like, yep, that's louder. Even though decibel-wise it's not.
Right. Well, and also it's because music nowadays is really loud. It's louder than it's ever been. It's mixed way more. It's way less dynamic than it's ever been. If you listen to like the radio anyways.
Yeah.
Like popular music now is everything is more in your face than it's ever been.
Yeah.
And so to achieve that sound, a lot of times, guitars especially is something that just and keys is just something that gets layered so heavily, because I think it means in terms of mixing that you have to you have to make you have to affect things less, with in terms of like compression and stuff like that. If there's more parts.
So anyway, so problem solving, we were trying to come at this, and we were working with this specific engineer and producer because they are like kind of old school.
Okay.
Right.
And they were like, we want to record everything, and we want to do at the same time. We don't want to like drums, bass, keys, which is,
that was one of my questions. So are you guys all in the same room, different rooms?
we're in different rooms.
Mm-hmm. 3 of us were in the same room.
Yeah.
And then drummer was in. Garrett was in.
Yeah, fuck that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
Right. But yeah. We the way we did this one was we would do a couple passes of a song, like in its entirety, and then if, for example, I can think of one where I felt really good about my take, and I was like, guys, the magic happened with the bass.
It's there.
Yeah, my part is not gonna get much better than it was right then.
Yeah.
Can we keep that take? And then everybody else would kind of spot check their takes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, maybe somebody would go in and re-record like a chorus or like 2 chords even, or whatever.
Okay.
Which is cool because it allowed us to keep the energy of a take, even if things weren't perfect. You can edit that. You can punch in there and fix something in your own part, but keep the same spirit of what we had done.
Yeah.
Which feels so much better to me, anyways. For this type of music, feels so much better than recording everything individually and just going through and doing
like one by one.
Yeah, like one by one. And just splitting things up into like a ton of little parts.
Like a lot of times, if I'm recording something for just like an artist or something, they'll send me programmed drums, scratch guitar, and scratch vocals. Mm-hmm. So literally none of the instruments are gonna be what the end result has on them.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm supposed to record to that, and then I do, and I say and I master my bass part by itself, and I just send it to him, and I say all right, bye.
Yeah.
And then that's pretty standard for the way things go now.
Yeah, I've done recordings that way too for people.
But if that's what they're sending you, then like what you send back like almost doesn't matter, right?
A lot of times in those if that's what I'm getting, they're. I mean, but when I'm recording, you can't record mentally going in with that way.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna record something stupid.
Yeah.
And I think one of like the misconceptions about music is when people listen to something and they go like, oh, this is so stupid. It's because they played it stupid.
Yeah.
It's not. You can blame it on the songwriting as much as you want, but it's dumb because the way that they're performing it is dumb. I think like 20%. I think like 30 to 40% songwriting, sure, but 50 to 60 of it, like the creative process still happened. You can't like.
Yeah.
You can't blame your dumb second keys part on the creative on what I mean,
Yeah.
on the writing that happened before it.
Right.
So I can't ever go into a recording situation with that in mind, like, oh, this is so dumb. Like a lot of times I'll like imagine drum parts, or I'll imagine like interplay between instruments, and I'll just put it in there.
Yeah.
And then hopefully somebody else will pick it up, and like or they'll just edit it, or they'll just like edit it out.
Yeah.
It's like whatever.
I've heard you say things like that before, like on like church stuff we've done before. You're like, oh, I'm surprised they didn't just take that part out.
Oh yeah, totally. Because a lot of times I'm
Yeah.
putting it in there like on faith that somebody else will actually want to make music, even though we're not in the same room, and they'll do it with me.
Yeah, dude.
And
I completely agree with you. I mean, maybe some people have a different ideology about this, but I think any time that you are being represented on a recording, on a track, you owe it to yourself and whoever is like hiring you to show up and play.
Yeah.
Not to just like half-ass it and be like, this song kind of sucks,
because
so I'm not gonna put my whole self into this or whatever.
Because there are too many recordings where I listen to and be like, this song blows, but that drummer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Totally.
that happens so much.
Yeah.
You'll
Totally.
be like, you hear that background singer? She was killing it.
Yeah.
Or like,
right.
She was trying to get hired or something like that.
Yeah.
So and that happens too much to like listen to somebody's dumb like. I'm gonna start getting to specific examples. I don't want to.
Yeah.
Do that. But to listen to somebody's like weird country song and be like, all right, I guess I'll just play whole notes.
Yeah.
Like, who cares, right?
Yeah, I agree.
So, yeah, but yeah, Jake's right. I didn't even think about it at the time, but yeah, we were getting whole takes. We were getting like the spirit of a take, and then we were like kind of building the rest of the song around it.
That's pretty cool.
Which was yeah, it felt better. Honestly, our recording. I was gonna bring this up because it was something that I genuinely felt. I thought we were gonna breeze through a lot of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought we were gonna get there, and like some songs were gonna be like bam, 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 bam. You know, it's gonna be like, you know, it was like. You know, we had 7 songs. I thought like 5 of them were going to be like easy money. And then like the last 2 were going to be hard. But man, every song there was like something, which I appreciate everybody caring that much.
Yeah.
It wasn't like we were just trying to figure it all out. It was like,
right.
You know, it was like Garrett does a drum take and is like, man, I just don't like what
it was like, this needs more. Or I hear something more or something different than just like what we... Because, and I think this is maybe true for a lot of situations that I've played in. Every time you get in a different room behind a different mic with a different engineer or a different producer or whatever, something feels different, and you have to kind of tap into that.
Yeah, and you can't shy away from it.
You can't shy away from it. Sometimes it takes you a couple songs or an hour of messing around with tones and playing a take over and over again or whatever to kind of find what that is. But yeah.
What was the producer? What was working with, like, you've never worked with this guy before?
The engineer I've never worked with before. I've worked with the producer before, but not in the way that we worked.
Yeah. Same here. I've only like played live with him.
Oh, okay.
Ever,
yeah.
So.
The producer was a guitar player friend of ours.
Yeah. Amazing.
Friend of the show?
Yeah, Blake.
Yeah.
Blake. Yeah.
Oh, was Blake on here?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, his episode's not out
yet. It will be out by the time you hear this, though.
Cool.
What did you say? It won't be.
I said it will be.
Oh yeah, it definitely will be. Because I'm gonna get my act together. Yeah. Blake was an amazing producer. It was awesome having a producer.
He was great. And for me especially, like I have not been in a lot of recording situations with like another like a really professional, really experienced guitar player to be there to like edit ideas and concepts, you know? And so I have this thing where like a lot of times I play something and I'm just like I have no gauge of was that cool? Was that weird?
Yeah.
You know, like I don't even know how I feel about that.
Yeah.
So like having someone else there to kind of like speak the same language, you know, was like invaluable for me anyways.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, this sounds so funny, but so I didn't know the engineer at all, and so I'm there, and my mind is like on the entire time.
Yeah.
You know, when I'm listening, when I'm in the control room, and all we're doing is listening to stuff over speakers. When I'm listening to Aaron do like a bunch of different solo takes or a bunch of different keys passes with drums, whatever. When I'm listening to Garrett like do claps, you know, on an auxiliary pass, like my mind is just like going.
Yeah.
And it was so nice to have somebody there for when the engineer turns around and says some joke, to have somebody else there and go like to like smile and acknowledge what he said.
Was that the producer?
Yes.
That's the producer's job?
I was so glad it wasn't me.
That's
like
totally
I can't
true.
tell you because when my mind has to turn off just to like acknowledge some joke that I would have pleasantly acknowledged anyway.
Yeah.
It was so nice to have somebody. It was like having a
buffer. Like
yeah. He was like a buffer in a lot of ways, but that was one of the ways I thought was really funny. That I was like, I just remember he said some joke, and I'm like laying there on a chair, listening to what's happening, and I'm just exhausted. And he said some joke, and Blake like laughed at it, and I was like, I'm so glad I didn't have to laugh at that. You know. So like that was in a funny way, like it kind of sums up a lot of like what Blake did for me also.
Okay.
That was nice.
Yeah, and it was cool because like I mean this is us doing this, you know, with relatively little like outside input, and so he's someone who came into this like respecting, blind and also just like respecting the vibe of what everyone's going for and not trying to make it. He wasn't ever trying to make it into something it wasn't.
Yeah, he didn't have an agenda.
I've had he had no agenda, and I've definitely had experiences where there's somebody there calling shots, trying to completely change
Same with the engineer too.
Yeah, same with
That
the
this guy was
engineer.
awesome. I was
Yeah.
so like Blake swore to me up and down that he was great, and he was.
Yeah.
He was like exactly what we wanted, which was he's cared a lot about capturing the sound really well.
Yeah.
And then once it got past the recording phase, he became suddenly a lot less opinionated, which is what we wanted.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, I didn't want some guy saying like, "Is it weird that there's a bridge there?" You know, I didn't want that.
Yeah, that's super
Like
not his job.
questioning
Yeah.
Right,
choices.
exactly.
Yeah.
And that happens, like Jake said, all the time.
Huh.
Like I can think of a few sessions that I did in Nashville for this other band where the engineer was also a bass player. Good Lord. And so
Oh, no.
so, you know, I'm like, "Hey, can you hear what it sounds like? You know, can you hear me in there?" And he's like, "Yeah. Do you want your sound to sound so woody or thick?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Yes, dude. That's what I want."
Yeah.
And then, you know, another situation from that same recording, which he was like, you know, we got to a part of the song and I was like, "Hey, would you mind playing the song? I haven't heard this part of the song. Just playing it and I'm going to jot down what these chords are real quick for me." They're like, "Yeah, sure." And then the engineer, who's not the producer, goes, "Yeah, I just went ahead and put some scratch bass tracks down. You can feel free to use those ideas or not." Whether he was being genuine or not has nothing to do with what was happening. Just not the time. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you know, I was like, well, why am I here if this dude's gonna
Yeah.
take the time to, you know what I mean? Or,
Yeah.
and I don't know. And you know, then I have to walk out and have a conversation with some guy like, "Hey, man, can you just take that compression off my bass? Like, when I get to the B flat A range on my low string, like it just doesn't speak or it's too loud."
Yeah.
And then he goes like, "Yeah, I just thought it might be kind of cool if it sounded whatever." And it's like stuff like that where it's like,
Yeah. You don't want the engineer like
it's that extra stuff.
Right.
It's like slows the process down.
Yeah.
It, you know.
if anything, you want somebody who will kindly offer advice if you ask them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And like that's about the extent, you know, of at least that's been my perspective of that's what I want somebody there.
And I mean, I have been in situations where the producer or the engineer will make a suggestion to me that will completely change what I do,
right.
completely change the recording, and it's all for the better.
Yeah.
And like, turns out I was wrong the whole time.
Yeah.
Like, I'm totally fine with that.
Mm-hmm.
But going in there, you know, that's like me hiring a plumber, and then as soon as he walks in, I'm immediately like, "If you want to use my wrenches, you know, feel free. I find that my wrench is best in this, you know, whatever." It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
I hire, you know,
Yeah.
somebody hired him to do his job, let him do
Right.
his job.
Yeah.
You know, then if I want to offer my wrench and he goes, "Oh, I love those wrenches."
Yeah.
So anyway.
Okay. I'm actually really excited to hear this fucking album.
I'm glad.
I will be at the CD release party, and
Yeah.
I will be one of your first purchases.
Stuff.
Speaking of knowing you'll never make your money back, this has been How Do You Nerd.
Hey guys, this is Josh. Thank you so much for listening to this flashback episode. It was awesome getting to hear a walk down memory lane. If you like what you heard, follow us on whatever platform you're listening on or watching us on, and check us out on Facebook and YouTube and Instagram and all that stuff. But anyway, thank you guys so much for checking this out, and stay tuned because there's more coming your way.
Light shine, something's changed, breathing something different.